Hey guys, Shadylikeatree here, and welcome into Reminiscing with Shady, episode 98. Today's episode is about NFL head coach, the EA Sports published, developed by EA Tribune game. It's part of the Madden NFL series, and it used the Madden 2006 engine. It was released on PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Windows on June 20th, 2006. It is single player with no multiplayer or kind of dual purpose gameplay. If our memory serves me right, I think there might be an option to have someone play against you in the later franchises, but early on, definitely not. Basically, this is kind of my type of game. Although I think on some level it wasn't maybe executed as well as I would have liked. Basically, the game allows you, the player, to take control of an NFL team and work towards becoming a legendary coach and the greatest coach in the NFL history. On the cover, we have, of course, Bill Cowher, the legendary Pittsburgh Steelers coach. The way it works out is you were the offensive or defensive coordinator of the champion, I believe, Steelers the year before. And then you're hired, basically. You're interviewed and then hired for a number of different teams following that, and they you work towards becoming the greatest coach, and you do that by winning games, winning championships, having players win awards, having your offensive coordinators become coaches and do well, and it all kind of adds to your prestige. But the thing about this game that's different from the other Madden games is that you don't actually play on the field. You control all the other aspects. You control who plays, the depth chart, things like that during the game. And you can also talk to your players and try to motivate them and whatnot. But at the end of the day, you don't control any of the actual action on the field. Kind of what happens is you just try to motivate your players during the week in practice to get them to play to their potential. And hopefully you have a great team that goes out there and they practice well. And hopefully they reach the top end of their spectrum. Unlike in the other games where every player has a fixed skill level each week and they grow. In this game, they have a range, so they can be in, for instance, I believe Carson Palmer's rating for the Bengals is like a 72 to like a 91 or a 93 or something like that. So he can fall in any given week in between those numbers based on his attributes. And things like speed and agility and stuff like that don't necessarily move so much. It's more like awareness moves quite a bit. Things like tackling move. Those skills that can be taught are generally more able to move and do move pretty frequently. It's kind of a similar game for those of you that played FIFA Manager, and it's kind of just that's kind of how it plays out. One of the things I like about this game, and I've shared this in the past with the other sports games that I've kind of brought along and shared and played and whatnot, is that I really like being able to manage a team more so than, actually doing the on-the-field stuff, because to me the on-the-field stuff is the easy part. Building that team and making the salary cap work and all of that is the difficult part. The NFL draft is made extremely difficult. You have to basically scout players all season. You have to you have to find the right players, and then you have to draft well. And what's really cool about this game, or I guess kind of easier, is that they don't draft a lot of the great players early on, and the drafts are almost always the same. So if you pick the same player every time in every pick, the draft is going to always turn out the exact same. So that's something that I really like, because I've found the best possible draft that I could have, and I actually have that written out somewhere, and that's the draft that I always had. I got so many good players, like I forget who they all are, but like I get a top-notch wide receiver with the first pick, and then I get a really good guard with the second pick, and then I get a great defensive tackle with my third pick. In the first draft, and it's just and I get Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis is the receiver. He's a tight end technically, but you get Vernon Davis, and then you get so many good players. And each time I played, it was the same draft roughly. And that kind of made it a little bit easier on that front. Um, I guess this game did spawn a sequel a few years later in NFL Head Coach 2009. That game was developed for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. It was released August 12th, 2008. That game was not as well received. Um, it had some kind of negative reviews. But speaking about more of this game, Head Coach 2006, IGN gave it a 7.2 out of 10. Really liking the score. A lot of the criticisms of this game, this game was kind of given a 7.5 or so for many different people. But a lot of the criticisms of this game was that there was no multiplayer element, which I can understand, because a game like this, it would be extremely difficult in my mind to have any sort of two-player system that worked and didn't take 3 days to get through a game, because you're trying to manage against the CPU and kind of deal with all that stuff. But yeah, it's I really like this game. It really has that element of being an actual NFL coach and being an experience of the game, because of everything that you have to manage, everything you have to do. There's a ton of on-field stuff to do. There's a ton of there's a ton of behind-the-scenes stuff, from hiring coaches to agreeing with your coaches, getting your coaches to like you enough to where they don't quit. There's no commentating on this game, so I think that helps, or that kind of hurts. And as you can see right there, I got Carson Palmer on fire, and then he kind of, you can kind of see his ratings as he's been heavily motivated, and I've coached him up quite a bit, and I've talked at him kind of quite a bit, so that's kind of where that's at. But yeah, and there were some bugs. Now that I think about it, there's some times where players are negatively motivated after you try positive reinforcement, which I think was not intended. It got kind of frustrating. And two, what I think they get really right in the realism of this game is, and what I remember from playing it is that every player is different. So some players respond a little bit to positive motivation. Some players need to be yelled at. Not everyone is the same. Not every player reacts the same way to each different kind of system. So you have to kind of get to know your players and kind of learn what they respond to. Does your free safety have to be coddled? Does your linebacker need to be yelled at? Do you have to not say anything to your star defensive tackle? Who knows? But that's something that in this game, as you play it, you have to learn your players to become the greatest head coach, because they all react differently, and to get the best out of all of them, you have to treat them all as individuals, and you can't just say, well, I'm going to positive motivate everyone, because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm not going to make them feel like crap about themselves, even though these are pixels on the screen, because that's just not right. No, every player is different, just like in the NFL, and just like, I'm sure at every level of football. Everyone has their different motivations. Everyone has the things they need to be successful, and you just have to try to get the best out of your players. So it's part drafting right, signing right, trading right, whatever, managing the team, but it's also motivation, practice, that sort of stuff. And I think that this game finds a really great balance between the two different things, and that's something that I really appreciate about this game, and something I'm really glad that they were able to kind of put through moving forward. Kind of my main criticism of this game, however, is the fact that there's just a ton of loading screens, and I think part of that is the technology of the day, this being on PlayStation 2. But they're just like, anytime you do an action, and every day has like a handful of actions. Every time you do an action, there's like 30 seconds of you doing stuff, and then there's like 2 minutes of a loading screen, and then like 30 seconds of you waiting to do stuff, and then like 2 minutes of a loading screen, and then that just repeats over and over and over again. And then sometimes, like, you go into meetings, and to deal with all your coaches, it'll take 2, 3, 5 minutes. But then there's like a 2-minute loading screen. So there are a ton of loading screens in here. And that really, I think, takes away from the experience, because it takes forever to get through a year. It takes forever to get through a season. If I'm me, I want to, just get through it as quickly as possible. And I've not played the 2009 version, because it was kind of just, people told me it was bad. So I kind of hope that, and I kind of wish that they make a new one and kind of do it right. I know they've tried to do that in franchise mode a little bit, but it's not to this extent. So I would maybe like to see like a future Madden merged NFL head coach with the Madden, so we can get the good gameplay, get the good graphics, get the good everything, but maybe have this style without all the the tons and tons and tons and tons of loading screens that it takes to get through this game. And I mean, the NFL draft is like the best part, and you have like 12 minutes of drafting, but before and after, and pretty much all the time, it's nothing but loading screens in between you taking 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of action. I will say that this game had a lot of potential for what it was back in the day, and over time it's kind of faded away because it doesn't stand the test of time like some other games have and will and can. But I'm kind of happy with the time I had with this game, and I look forward to, like I said, hopefully in the future, having this kind of more integrated into Madden and things like that down the line. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. This has been Reminiscing with Shady, episode 98, NFL Head Coach 2006. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. I tried to show you a little bit of everything. I tried to show you some gameplay, tried to show you some of the draft. Like I said, there's really not much to show you from the normal day-to-day operations because it just takes forever to get through it. It's a ton of loading screens. Yeah, I hope I was able to give you a good snapshot of this game, and I'll be in the comments if you have any questions or you want to learn more about this game. Thanks again, guys, for watching, and I'll certainly see you next time.